Good morning. We are live. I'm excited for today. We got a massive move overnight with all the tariff talk. We are below 19,000. Not only that, we are below 18.9. Just a few days ago, last week, we were above what, 20K? Actually, last night, we peaked above 20,000 on a little pop as the tariff talk started, and here we are fading down below 19. I love it because, you know, last week when we had that dead volatility collapse, that was extremely frustrating. And in my head, it's kind of us against everybody. So for traders, we come first in my brain. So if you don't want to give us volatility, we'll take volatility at any cost. And here we got volatility. A crash off below 19,000. So let's see how today goes. That's a 900, point move, down 4.5% in the Nasdaq. So we'll see how we end up doing here today. How you guys doing this morning? We are 5 minutes out from the opening bell. You guys excited? Joe, how you doing? What's up? Eric, good morning. Good to see you back. Trying to bounce here into the open. I don't know, man. We are down 850 points. But a retest of 19,000, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me. But I want to see how the market opens here and how we act in the first 5 to 10 minutes of that open. And really start getting a feel for this, because I think just betting on continued downside blindly just because we got a big overnight move is a mistake. But if that's what the market starts telling us, then that's what we're going to have to do. And I have no problem doing that. And you know what, guys? I know a lot of you guys probably have long-term investments you're looking at this morning. Like, shit, this is a bad Thursday for me. I don't think you should think about it that way. The way that I think you should think about this is you're trading, right? You're here, you're probably trading. Your long-term investments are just that. They're meant to be long-term, right? And your trading is meant to generate revenue to A, live off of, but also make enough so you can drive money into the market, right? So first of all, you get cheaper prices as the market comes down, right? But second, more importantly, as the market falls, volatility tends to skyrocket. Okay, so what you really don't want is a really slow, grindy move upside where, sure, your long-term investments are doing fine, making you feel good when you wake up and check them in the morning, but in all reality, there's not really enough volatility to generate as much money trading as you could be if volatility was higher or through the roof, but at least just above average. Okay, so the long-term stuff, chances are going to be fine in the time frame you're actually looking at. But in the meantime, wouldn't you want more volatility? Try to generate more revenue to drive into the longer-term stuff? I really think having a move like this, you end up better off in the long term. You get more volatility, maybe you're able to generate more money trading, drive it into the long-term stuff, and in the end, the long-term stuff is fine anyway. The slow grind stuff, it makes you feel good when you look at your long-term investments, but I really think you would end up worse off if we always had slow, grindy, upside, sideways markets, because you would have less revenue generation in your trading, and you're here for a reason, right? So if you're going to spend time trading, you might as well focus on trading as priority number one. The long-term stuff will be fine. So we are 2 minutes out from the open here. Rob, not too long ago, it was down close to 700 points before open, and it launched up. Over the years, I've observed that when the overnight pushes the market down, that the New York Open people don't like that. Yeah, listen, we'll see if we get a sustained bounce. We're trying to bounce here. If you look at the 5-minute chart, we're trying to bounce here into the open. We're kind of getting rejected a little bit off that 5-minute 20 EMA. That's not, of course, you know, a hard level that everyone's watching, but we'll see. When you first started trading, what did you tell your family and friends? that would ask what you did for a living. It's hard explaining trading and scalping to family members. Listen, they're not gonna, if they want to understand, they will. If they don't care to understand, they're never going to, and that's okay, let them. You're gonna have some people in your life that are super supportive and are like, they get it and they understand it and they think that you're intelligent enough to make it sustainable. And then there's going to be other people in your life, I promise you, and it will surprise you, that will, every time you see them 5 years from now, they'll say, what is it that you do again? I don't really get it. And you've explained it like 8 times. It's just, you just have to have grace with those people and let them, because they don't want to understand. Do you refrain from trading below a certain average true range? Just got here, sorry if you covered this. Do I refrain from trading below a certain ATR? It's more of a price action thing. I mean, listen, if the average true range is like 6, I can't trade that. But if it's like 15, if the price action sucks and it's not giving me any setups, I won't trade it. There is the bell. But if it's like 12, 15, you know, and the price action is good, we're inside of a channel, or we are getting a slow grind move and I can trade breakouts, especially, you know, like slow breakouts, then I will trade it. But it's more of a price action thing. But like below 10 on the average true range on a 2-minute chart for me is really, really hard to trade. Yes, news. We have S&P Services PMI final at 8:45 Central, and we have US ISM Services PMI at 9 o'clock. This morning at 7:30, we got initial jobless claims, but with everything else going on today, that got a little bit overshadowed here. You know what, listen, if people want to say that you're gambling, fine. Again, let them, that's fine. I mean, what are you gonna do? Sit there and try to convince them? You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Eric, sounds like he's either a really great best friend and just giving you shit and doesn't mean it, or he's not a good best friend. And doesn't want you to, maybe doesn't want you to pull away too much. Which that would be concerning. All right, this big old move off the open, testing 19,000. What did we just talk about heading into the open? A test of 19,000 would not surprise me. Here we are getting that test off the New York Open. Let's see how we react. It was 19,000. This is a tier 2 level. Well, I would call this a tier 1 level, sorry. I forgot I switched my levels to make it more easily explainable. So in S tier, superior tier, I think that's what that stands for, would be like 20K, 15K, 25K, 30K. Those come around not that often. And then tier 1 we'll call the thousands, so like 19,000. Tier 2 we'll call like 19.5, 18.5. So 19,000 I would call tier 1, as long as we can put 20,000 in like a tier of its own. So this might be sticky here around 19. We'll see which direction we decide to go. While we wait for this market to develop here, again, if you would, press the like button on the stream. It really does help out tremendously. I've noticed you guys have been doing it, and it really does. There's a noticeable difference, so I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, guys. And here we are holding 19,000. Now, worth mentioning here on the 5-minute, we had this little uptrend. Lasted a couple hours, an hour and a half maybe in pre-market. That faded hard, so I am watching this region up here, right around 19,050, 19,060. We'll see how we test that region. And we'll give this market a few minutes to clean itself up. A lot of times these big pops, you know, people will buy them thinking we're going to see some big reversion to 20K. But if you think about the sustainability of the volume that's pouring in off the open and causing this move, the probability, I will not speak in certainties, right? Because we could just see some massive upside move to 22,000 today. I mean, you could always see whatever, right? But the probability of a sustained move upside to 20K right now it sits very low. Okay, as the volume starts to go back to kind of average after the open. So a fade here off of 19,000 would not surprise me later on. Yeah, we might be seeing some big money executions coming through here on the open. Just trying to average in. But remember, what are they doing? What's their idea, right? 3 weeks, 3 months plus out. They are not necessarily caring about intraday, and we're trying to trade intraday. Okay, so I want more intraday ideas driving the price action, which is why I like to hold off that first 5-10 minutes. Eric, anybody use AI? So using AI to analyze our trades, I personally have not found a great use unless, Eric, we can plug in actual market data and ask the AI, hey, I want you to look at this data and then I want you to compare it with the price data and the chart and visualize the chart data. And usually you have to pay for that data, right? And then tell me which setups are performing best for me over the last 6 months, 3 to 6 months. That would be the way to use AI to analyze your trades. Most people aren't going to do that. I think just inputting your data, I think it's maybe better that you just visualize it in one of those cheap programs. But you would want to plug in like all the market data, which you usually is kind of expensive, and you'd have to plug that into the AI and probably pay for a bigger version of the AI you're using. That would be very beneficial. And I promise you institutions are already doing that. Anything less than that, I think you're better off just looking at it as a human, honestly. Which is good, because it's cheap, if not free. Alright, coming back in for a test of 19, not surprising. Market's going to make a decision here. Around 19. About 3 minutes out, and then we can start looking for setups, for at least developments of setups. And just remember here, we do have a kind of like light news headlines, 8:45 and 9. Both services PMI numbers, so not that big of a deal, but you might cause some volatility for a minute, 2 minutes. And then the market will get back to thinking about tariffs. Okay, breaking downside through 19. I think the 5 minute is a more interesting look here right now. Kind of rejecting right off that pre-market wick up that we saw. Let this thing make a decision. Do we start a grind higher? Fine. Or do we continue downside, which honestly I would prefer, just for the sake of volatility. So we've been having some good base hit days lately. I mean, can't complain. I mean, what about you guys? I'm curious. I'm definitely not having like record-breaking days or anything crazy, but base hit days are great, and I'm not going to complain about base hit days. But are you guys having are you guys red or base hit days, or are you setting records? I'm actually very curious because the volatility now is coming back in, so I expect that we're going to start seeing some swings here. But I know a lot of you guys were trading evals and moving into funded accounts, so I hope that's going well. And listen, you know what? If you blow it, pick yourself up, try again. Who cares? Okay, here we are seeing an attempt of a breakthrough here in the 5-minute. Shows you better. That pre-market wick kind of through 19,060. John, started watching you and passed my first eval yesterday after a year of failing. Good work. You're the one who did it, John. Good job. Keep going. Rufio. You know, you're in here every single day, and I've never tried to pronounce your name. Is that correct? I gotta figure out what I'm gonna call you guys. Roof. I'll just call you Roof, maybe. Base hit days keep me calm, doing well on the PAs, but I'm in for the long haul. I do not want to blow them. Yeah, guys, on the PAs, I trade the evals very aggressively. You guys will see. I'll be posting videos of me trading evals just for context. But in the PAs, I mean, you guys see exactly the size that I trade. I don't go aggressively in the PAs, but probably more aggressively in the evals than you guys might think. Brian, good work. We're getting a lot of people passing these evals. That's very good to see. And then just take your time in the funded accounts, and you'll have payouts before you know it. Yes, the eval, so it's called a different thing depending on the prop. Evals, they call them evaluations at Apex. Tests. Trick Biscuit. In the evals, I trade size. So in the evals, I'll trade 5 or 10 minis to start, and then I back off and I cut in half as I get higher. So that my first trade on the evals, I'm always looking for the highest quality trade I can, and I trade it sizable. And that the risk is highest on that first trade. I try to get a little bit in the money, and then I cut my size as I get into passing. That's what works for me the most consistently, and the most reliably, and the quickest. I don't want to spend my life in the evals. But again, if you're trying to do it as inexpensive as possible, you should absolutely spend time in the evals. And I'm not just saying that to like earn your stripes. I mean that because you will find it probably produces better results for you to trade the evals the same way you plan to trade the funded accounts. Okay, so here we are now. Look at this, guys. We're coming into a test of the 20 EMA on both the 5 and the 2. We're now into 840 plus range for time, right? Coming into 845 Central. So it's really time to start watching this market for setup development here. Blew my third funded account. I freeze when the trade goes against me, and all of a sudden it is minus 1,500. Yeah, so I think what you should really do is trade smaller. Trade smaller. And try to find a good setup for you that occurs more often. And then have an automated stop loss that goes out as soon as you get filled. And then tie your hands behind your back. But the way to get over taking losses, guys, is to trade smaller and ideally try to trade more often without just taking bad trades. So find setups that you think in your brain make sense that it would have a little bit of edge, and take it as often as you possibly can, trading very small, and by default you will take more losers and get used to losing. The only way to get over taking a loss in the market is to rip the band-aid off and just lose small to the point where you're like, okay, this isn't so bad. I just cut it and move on. And oh, look, 3 trades later, I'm at high of day. Like, it's not a big deal. Just rip the band-aid off. Sooner rather than later. You're going to have to lose a hell of a lot if you want to make a lot of money in this industry. Yeah, Scooby, listen, if taking your time is working better for you in the evals, absolutely, you should. I'm not saying my way is the way. My way is probably the wrong way for most people. Just what I do. I can only tell you what I do. And if you're, listen, guys, if you're trading the tests slowly, the evals slowly, don't let me talk you into being aggressive. I'm just telling you what I do. All right, still letting this market develop here. Getting a bounce, actually. We're holding on to that 20 EMA on both the 5 and the 2 minute. All right, well, U.S. Services PMI, sorry, U.S. S&P Services PMI final just hit. Again, we're not going to get a ton of volatility here at the 845 number. One more number at 9, the U.S. ISM Services PMI. Not a lot of volatility will come there either. And then throughout the day, really all that's left before the New York close is we're getting the Fed's Jefferson is speaking at 11:30 Central, and then that's it. Trump will be speaking later on this evening and tonight, or this afternoon, I guess. And then I guess at 1:30 we have the Fed's Cook speaking. But Fed speakers in this market in 2025 are not moving the market pretty much at all. In 2022, pretty much every Fed speaker was moving the market because the inflation story was what was driving the market, whereas right now it's the tariff story and the Fed is not too relevant there. At least enough. Well, really, we're trying to make a decision here around that 20 EMA on both charts. See what we can do. If you guys are having any stream problems, by the way, everything's good on my end, so if you want to try to refresh, I think YouTube servers the last day or two have been a little bit... something's going on with, I think, their end. Everything on my end is the same, if not better. Alright, so market's going to make a decision here around this 20 EMA. We're getting a whole bunch of dojis. Here, look at this 5 minute. There's an attempt at a break on the 2 and the 5 of this 20. When you get both levels lining up like this, you see that? You're absolutely going to get a little bit more respect in that region because now you're doubling up on a level that isn't incredibly relevant on its own, the 20 EMA, right? It's not like it drives the market. But when you get doubles, you know, they line up, it's going to hold a little bit more water. So we'll see what we can do around here. I just want to get these wiki bars out of the way, get something a little bit more decisive. And then I'll put something on. Yeah, Chris, I'm live every day from 8:15. I think this is better, ultimately. Shows you the exact same process. Zachary, can someone explain how Apex payouts work? So you have to follow their rules. They have a rules page. Just look up Apex payout rules, Apex Trader payout rules, and just make sure you're following all those rules. Relatively simple once you understand what they are. And then trade for 8 days. Don't let any one day be over 30% of the profit for those days, and you're good. You also don't want to go less than 5-to-1 risk reward. You don't want to take over 30% drawdown in any one unrealized trade. But if you're using automated stops, which you should be, that's not a problem. This 20 EMA, baby, is really holding water. Coming back in for a test of 19. Market very interested in this region. Let's see if we end up getting an ascending channel here. It'd be nice and wide, maybe 125 points if we can see that begin to develop, and I would start scalping that. Yeah, I agree that the live is better, plus you still take time to do the trade recaps. Yeah, so for that series, the developer, he said it happened to me and 4 other guys. He reached out, paid me back for everything that it cost, because he dove in, said, yep, this was our fault. Reached out and sent me what it cost me. That really threw a dagger in all the work we had done. And that doesn't mean I'm not gonna, continue that series. I love that series. It's very doable, and I want to show you guys that. But as far as education and actually doing it, I think the live is better. Do you journal your trades, and do you suggest doing that? 100%. Yes, you should journal your trades. You can do it for free, Excel, Google Sheets, or you can use something like TraderView. I love TraderView. I've used that for years as well. Okay, let's see if we can get a test of this high of day. Which would be great, actually, because that might start to show us a developing ascending channel, which is beautiful. I'm up 5,000 in a couple of Apex accounts, but there was a trade that I lost like 1,000 on. Am I going to get screwed by the 30% rule? That's the only trade I've lost in 6 days. So if you're up 5,000, your highest unrealized loss was the 1,000. No, you should be fine. You should be fine unless there's something you're not telling me. As far as the unrealized. If you went down like, 4,000 unrealized, then it came back and you cut it at 1K, then you might have some issues with the 30% rule. But just run automated stops. It's you adjust for prop. It forces you to be more disciplined, which I would argue is a good thing. This market will not give up on this 19,000 level. Time to make a decision here. Keith, good morning. I am loving this volatility. I mean, look at that ATR. That ATR, where is that? 50? Oh, beautiful. I don't think we've seen a 50 ATR in at least 2 weeks. That's good to see. But now we need something to develop as far as a setup. So if we can get an ascending channel here, or just an uptrend, or maybe a break downside with a nice downtrend, a lot can change in 4 to 6 minutes for me on the 2-minute chart. Skeeto, good morning. So your play is a consecutive trend candle on the 2-minute. Good strength, the less of which the better from one candlestick to the next. Enter within the first 10 seconds with the possibility of a 40-point move. I'm looking for consecutive growing bull or bear bars, 2 to 3, with the entry bar closing near its high or low if it's a bear bar, and not being a ridiculously outsized bar to the point where now you're pushing a range reversion temptation, like a rubber band snapback effect, rather than continuation. It's discretionary, I'm not going to lie to you. But I try to talk you guys through my thought process to the best of my ability. But also there's channel scalping, which is kind of the other umbrella side that you guys just haven't seen as much of, because we haven't had as much of that in the last 2 weeks. But in past videos, I think you've seen a lot of that. Yes, this range is beautiful. 50 ATR, I love to see it. Now, if we just get this to 3 touch points on this ascending level here, I think I'm really tempted to draw it like this. Very tempted to draw it like that, but I can't, okay, because this was pre-market. I don't like to consider pre-market data too much, just because volume is lower. And it's different, right? It's different data than really what we're getting off the open. Good morning, Jet. How you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, so when we're inside of the range like this, here, this shows you better. When we're inside of the range like this, you see we get the open, big expansion, pullback, and now we're kind of slowing down inside of this now new range, right? That to me is like, okay, well, I can't take continuation trades because continue where? We're inside of the range, right? So I'm really looking for channel scalps. And now here we are, second touch point, starting to fail already, which is actually fine because I would actually prefer that. It might open up a trade for us a little bit sooner. If we can get consecutive bear bars closing beneath this wick, that would be a beautiful short entry for me on the rollover. If we can get that. But yes, in a minute, 25 seconds, we get US ISM Services PMI. Might be a minute or two of volatility. That's about it. Market wants to see 19K again. Gonna be a lot of interest around that level. All right, news hitting in 45 seconds. Well, the news of today is tariff talk. These headlines are just little blips in comparison. It's always a context thing, right? If there's nothing going on and you get like a services PMI number, it's like, okay, well, that's I guess the news of the day. But today, these are just like a minute or two I avoid just because, you know, you might get a little bit of volatility like there. See that? The number hits, you get a little bit of a move, and then that's about it. Fed speakers, couple today while the market's open. That won't do much in the context of this market. So it's tariff talk today. All right, now we are over the hump as far as headlines. So you see that's just a little blip on the radar. US ISM Services PMI came in at 50.8. The forecast was 52.9. Okay, now this 2-minute bar closes in 1 minute. So you guys see, I mean, we're getting a lot of red, green, green, red, green. It's time to start getting either a channel development or some consecutive bars here, because this right here is, for me, this is chop. I love the volatility. 50 ATR, I'm not complaining about that. Just need something a little bit more decisive here. Now, by the way, this wick here on the news is a little bit less meaningful to me just because I know that it was a news wick. So I'm going to consider that. That was less like real price action and more just like a news flash. It immediately came back up and got bought up. So I'm considering it, but not nearly as much as I would be like this wick here, right? Or these. Nico, are you self-taught or did you take courses to initially learn the craft? I don't think I took any courses. I read a lot online, but ultimately what 80 to 90% of my learning came from was me staring at charts, saying, how the hell can I make this work? And saying, okay, when this happens, is there a logical reasoning why it should 55% of the time or more on a 1-to-1 reward to risk, for example? Those numbers can change, obviously. Is there good reason why I should have a few percent edge if I take this trade 100 times? Does that even make sense to me? And then I would test it. And then a lot of times it wouldn't work. And then eventually you find some that work. Sometimes, right? You get a few percent edge and that's all you need. So yes, I would say self-taught. But it took probably longer than it should have. So I don't think going completely self-taught is the way to go, at least in today's day and age, but that's just what I did. All right, getting a push downside here. Now I'm looking for, you know, this bar closes in about 30 seconds. We'll see. I want to watch this close, and then we'll look at the next 2-minute bar, and then we'll see if I can get a continuation downside setup here. Here we are coming into this wick. That news wick happened so fast, it's actually displaying different data across Thinkorswim and NinjaTrader here. You see that? We're testing the bottom in NinjaTrader, but on Thinkorswim, we're not. So this bar is rolling over here now, and we'll see how this one plays out. If we can get a nice sizable bear bar closing near the low, then I will sell the rollover. Now, that setup, if that were to occur, that would push us outside of this potential channel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up and draw what could be developing here, which is potentially something like this, right? We could be seeing the early stages of something like this. So a push downside through would already break that, and then I would sell that rollover. Whereas if we end up holding this, then I'm thinking, okay, do we end up channel scalping today? Which is fine. I don't mind. I'll do either. Alright, now if this channel holds, it is becoming more and more interesting. I would call this about the third touch point, so we'll see how this reacts. If we get a break downside again, continuation's on the menu. But if we hold this, all of a sudden channel scalping is on the menu. Though I'm not a huge fan of buying descending supports. I think the easier trade is to just sell the descending resistance. If you have a little bit more wind at your back, I think the edge is a little bit improved. Nico, I was told years ago, when you see a flash down or up that returns, it will return to that low within a few bars. What do you think? I think that is painting with a very broad brush. Might it happen commonly? Sure. But I think whoever told you that probably looked at a few charts and said, wow, this always happens. That's not necessarily true. But the market sometimes likes to test levels twice. All right, now this is a bull attempt at a reversal. You see that big red bar and then that green doji, or what I would call a doji, okay? So we'll see if the bulls can end up holding up. What you're getting there really is either sellers stepping out and buying pressure remaining the same, or what I would think is probably going on that bar is selling pressure stepping out a little bit as we test the bottom of this potential channel. Buyers stepping in, seeing if they can prop it up, and now here we go, getting another downside test of this channel. There we go, getting a little bit more of a definitive bounce out of that test, which is nice to see. I don't like mushy bounces when I'm channel scalping, so I'm really looking... You could argue here. Someone might draw it like this as well. Now that makes a 1905. It makes maybe a 15-point difference how you draw it. So it's always a range, right? It's never going to be like an exact science. So I'm going to draw it like that. We'll see if we get a test even. But with mushy bounces like this, if we get another retest right off the bat, what you're dealing with is going counter trend with decreasing buying pressure compared to the selling pressure. And you're putting on probably quite a negative reward to risk trade, which is fine, by the way, but the win rate has to hold up. I don't care if it's negative, if it's, 1 to 4 reward to risk, fine. Fine. If it has a 90% win rate, you're making tons of money. But this is where that win rate starts to degrade. When you get these mushy little bounces in a downtrend and you're trying to buy the descending support. In my experience, this exact setup, in my experience, does not perform for me very well. Now we could do something else, right? We technically could draw a very aggressive descending level, kind of like this. Goodness, what is going on with Thinkorswim here? There we go. We could draw something like this, right? And then that gives us that 20 EMA. But we have a lot of weakness coming in. Okay, so for now, I'm going to kind of delete this and just see how this develops. If we can get a strong bounce up, ideally through 18,950 off this level, all of a sudden I am more interested in buying the support. But right now, I am more intrigued by a rollover sell. Now we're coming into this region. That's pre-market, so there's not going to be a million stops there, but there will be some. But I can't expect like 10 points worth of liquidity because it's pre-market, but a little bit of stop action below there, maybe. But here we are holding this trend line, so I can't enter there. Now, had we closed well below there, like down here, I would have sold that rollover on the channel break. Let the market gives you what it gives you. Take good trades and move on with your day. Let the chips land as they may. All right, 45 seconds out from the close of this 2-minute bar. There we go. We're going to move downside here. Still waking up with that trend line. Need to see that give out for an entry. 15 seconds here. And we are wicking back. See, those bear bars are actually weakening, right? Compared. Each consecutive bear bar is actually getting slightly weaker, wicking back upside more and more, body getting smaller and smaller. It's kind of the opposite of what I want for a continuation trade. There we go. There's a bit of a bounce here. Okay, now the 20 EMA on the 5 minute sitting at 944, 945. Similar on the 2 minute. All right, so let's see what we get here. Coming in for the test of the 20. All right, now again, we could make this argument here. Though, such aggressive levels, to me, have a little lower probability. That's just the reality, because it tempts breakout a little bit harder. I'm going to leave that mentally, but I'll delete it, just to keep our chart clean. Now, if we could get a breakout upside, clear that level along with both 20 EMAs and get a continuation bar here with a close near the high, then I would enter long for the test upside. What I'd really be thinking about here would be like this channel. And if we can get an entry like here, that leaves enough room. In this volatility, looking for about 40 points, 30, 40 points, maybe 20 to 40 points. $60 seconds left on this 2 minute bar. Right in front of the 20 on both of these charts here. Look at the 5. We'll zoom in for you. That purple line and the 2 here. You see that? About 15 seconds left on this 2 minute. Really turn it into a doji here. No, I am, in some scenarios like this one, I am cool with a doji in between a continuation setup. Like if we get this bull bar, doji, big bull bar closes at the high, I'm not against buying that rollover. Does the probability go down by 1%, maybe 2%? Yeah, it does. But we'll see what we end up getting here, whether we continue to respect that channel, which here, a good rejection here would actually create, with a new low, would be tempting the creation of a new tighter channel, which is not a bad thing. ATR currently sitting up at about 47, 48. A lot of back and forth right now, but volatility's good. Just getting a lot of mix. Red, green, red, green, red, red, green, that kind of thing. Okay, there's a nice bear bar closing near the low. Give me another one of those babies. I would not be against looking to take out some pre-market stops with a little bit of stop hunting, ride it down. Again, there's not going to be a ton of liquidity in here just because it was pre-market and less traders are positioned from that time. But I would imagine that even some people, some longs trying to buy this dip are looking at this chart like, well, I can set a stop here, here, here. So I think you do build up a little bit of liquidity, which is good. Give me a damn bull bear bar. Come on now. All right, 1 minute out from the close of this bar. Let's see what we kind of end up getting here. And I will extend this just for context. I think most people would probably draw it right about there. It's kind of a tall order, I don't know. I would short a controlled upside test into this level, now that we have the 20 lining right up with that. If it's a very strong couple of bull bars, then I would look more for continuation, but that is an idea for me right now. Okay, this bar is going to roll over here. See, we're not really getting a whole hell of a lot right now. There we go. We can get a nice controlled push upside. I would take an entry. Plenty of room. Maybe an entry around 930 or so. Look downside. Plenty of room. Channel's plenty wide to scalp inside of. Just need the test. Eco, do you think limit orders are better than market orders and buy sell stops? It depends on the entry. If I'm channel scalping, there's 3 scenarios. If I'm channel scalping like I would be here to sell the top right at that resistance level, I use a limit on the offer, a sell limit on the offer. Now, if I were buying a continuation trade, but I only wanted to get filled above the wick of the previous bar, I would use a stop limit buy, right, if I was buying. But if I'm buying a rollover and we're getting little wiggles, then I will enter with a limit on the bid on the rollover to try to get a slightly better fill. You get the rollover on a big bull bar, little pullback, I'm better off using a limit. I don't need to wait for the break. So there's no better, there's only contextual, the better tool for what job you're trying to get done. Alright, here we are now getting a downside test. Honestly, I don't like this descending support level. It's very aggressive. I'm not a fan of it. And it's kind of causing a problem for me, honestly, because I really want to take this for continuation. But then we're coming into that stupid descending support. I don't really want to have to deal with that. And I know the market's going to at least think twice in that region because it's becoming so obvious. But we have 1 minute and 10 seconds till the close of this bar. Let's see if we can get done here. All right, a nice controlled move upside here. Let's see if we can get that. Oh, it's not controlled. Slow it down, slow it down. All right, sellers step in a little bit. Give me a... That's not controlled. Okay, now I'm thinking continuation. If we can get an upside move out of this bull bar. That right there was the opposite of what I wanted as far as an upside test. I wanted to see at least 2 bars to make the upside move. When you see a giant bull bar like that closing near the high, it shifts, right? We're dealing in a game of small percentages. Okay, and even if we get a rejection here, that for me was not a great trade to enter there. So I didn't. But a good trade for me here would be if we can get another similar size. I would take a little bit smaller, not substantially smaller, not half the size. Bull bar closing near the high here for continuation. That would be a breakout of this little third touch point descending resistance trend line. All right, 15 seconds out from the close of this 2-minute bar. We are turning right into a doji here, aren't we? There we go. There's a bit of a push. There's nothing there for me. Okay, now, take profit trader. Does anyone know, does take profit trader still run? I know at one point I believe there was a market downside rule. Does anyone know? I thought they got rid of something like that. We don't see this very often, obviously. Market down 4 or 5%. It's not really in their core rules, though, at take profit. I guess if we hit 5% down, I'll see if I get an email, huh? And if I do, I'll let you guys know. Because take profit, they're very good about sending emails when you should not be trading. It is still okay. So if we hit 5% down, I'll have to work that into my math here when I'm looking for setups. All right, Andy, good to know. Thank you. Seems like kind of a bizarre rule, no? I mean, if you ride a big crash day down, is that really your fault? All right, so we are sticking right around this 20 EMA. Again, both on the 5-minute and the 2-minute here. Jared, I do not have an email from Take Profit, though I'm sure it takes time. They send it through the list. I can take time to go out. I'm sure they have a lot of emails to hit. Okay, so let's see if we get a breakout upside through here. Nothing yet so far, which is a little bit disappointing, but that's fine. I mean, no trade so far at 9:30 is not uncommon. Then we might end up hitting, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So let's see what we can get. We're not anywhere near done. We're just getting started. As far as flat top, you could make the argument here, but I don't. Like, if we look at the 2-minute, it's a little bit sloppy. Like, you could argue that, okay, well, let's draw one here, right? Kind of in this region. It's very wide, though. We're looking at maybe a 30-point wide potential flat top. Less of an effect, at least in my experience. All right, the price is under 18,769. Well, we have plenty of room before then. Yeah, kind of a weird rule. Though I would imagine, they all these props, they have these rules in place for a reason. I would imagine that they, when they run their prediction models, assuming they have such a thing, it's too high of a risk to potentially let people ride down a massive, massive day for the way that Take Profit handles their payouts, which is, basically daily payouts. And on a huge, 6% down day, you might have people requesting absurd amounts of money, and they probably can't have that. So I guess that makes sense. So good to know. I'll see if I do get an email. I have not gotten one yet from Take Profit Trader. All right, here we are, getting a breakout attempt here on the 2-minute, as well as the 5-minute with the 20 EMA. All right, this baby needs to work itself out. Don't go anywhere. Back in 2 minutes. All right, here we have a potential setup forming. If you give me a close at the low of this bear bar, I will sell the rollover. Good time to get back here. 25 seconds till the close of this bar. Let's see if we can get a sell. How much room would that leave us here potentially? Yeah, enough. It would be enough. As long as we don't get some big downside move here. But I need it to close at the low, or at least near the low, comparatively speaking. And I will sell the rollover of that bar. So we're now sitting short. Target down at 18,824. And I'll have to stop this one out at 18,904 if we end up seeing a bounce. So we'll see how we go here. So 824 target. Yeah, we have room. We do have room. So we'll see if that trade works out. Sitting 6 points, 7 points, 5 points in the red so far. Now a couple points in the money. Entry price is 18,864.50. Again, target down at 824.25. Give me a little continuation downside here, and we're good. Does trading while streaming, this is a good question, does trading while streaming make it more stressful for you? You know, I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel. But no, the answer is no. Been at a couple weeks. Listen, I show up, I wait for the market to give me what it gives me. I put on good trades, at least what are historically good trades for me, and the chips land as they may. I don't pull self-worth from P&L. I had to stop doing that a long time ago. It makes you absolutely miserable. All right, so we're sitting about 10 points, 5 points in the red. Currently, again, average is 18,864-ish. Target down at 824.25. About 10 points in the money. Stop currently, again, sitting at 18,904.25. Kind of hovering in this range here, getting a little pop. About 10 points in the red currently. Yeah, 5, 10 points in the red. About 10 points in the green. Again, target is basically at low of day. Well, if you look at this pre-market wick, right? But it's a pre-market level. So a few stops, if we can get those triggering, should push me to target. I don't expect some massive 10, 15 point move off those stops, but currently 20 points in the money. $25 points in the money. 30 points in the money. Again, target at 824.25. Quicksilver, you just got out of your short? That one must have paid, huh? You've been short all morning. A little over halfway to target as we sit right now. Again, target down at 824.25. There's a push. Just got to take out that little bit of a low. You look at the 5-minute chart here. Just need a little bit of a low push. We can take out this wick. A few stops here will push us almost certainly to 3 points to hit our target. But now here we are pulling on back. Again, average price is 864.50 on this short. $28 points in the money. Just got to see a push through that low there. Down to 824. And that's target. Here we go. I'll take out a couple more stops. There we go. We are fully out there for a winner. Here we go. And there is where we currently sit. So I think that's... I gotta do some math. I don't know. I think now you'll realize that compared to P&Ls of past streams, these look a little sloppier, right? That's because I'm using the market only feature on Replicanto now rather than the ATM copy. So the P&Ls are going to be a little bit more like kind of random, not all the same, depending on volume. So I think that's, I don't know. I think that's like $1,400. I'll have to do the math here in a second. Looking for a similar idea here, though. We'll see if we can grab something else. Yeah, that's like $1,400. All right, now looking for a similar idea here. BC, Friday's low, says Friday's low is at 18,810. Good to know. All right, now watching this next bar here on the 2 minute. About a minute 50 until this one closes. I'm not against shorting again if I get a setup. The problem here, though, you get, again, bear bar. Well, you get bear bar. Improving bear bar, shrinking bear bar. So if this one stays small, that is a reversal attempt pattern by the bulls. Doesn't mean they'll succeed, but I would need this bear bar to grow a bit, close at or near the low. Yeah, I still have not gotten an email from Take Profit. Why are they not hitting me? Anyone ever get connection lost in NinjaTrader while in a trade? I've never gotten it while in a trade, but I get that often with Trade-Evate accounts if you're sitting stagnant for a while, not doing anything. Well, I gotta be honest with you guys, with the Take Profit, we're at 4.9% in the red. I have not received an email yet, which is concerning to me. I don't know if I want to put this on and then break a rule, which is the frustrating part of trading prop. Wasn't a great setup for me anyway. It wasn't perfect by any means, but that is something that I need to get an email about. Take Profit Pro. All the accounts I'm not trading any evals or tests. It's all Funded Apex and Take Profit Pro. At least right now it is. Well, there's 5%. Damn, that's crazy. Man, I'd love to see it. But I gotta tell you, I'm keeping an eye out for emails from Take Profit to tell me what I can do here. we are damn near down 1,000 points on the day. Goodness. Now, for circuit breakers on Nasdaq, is the first one still at, is it still 7%? I think it's still 7%. Pretty damn sure that's the case, at least for the S&P. Yeah, 7. Well, I suppose what I should probably do here is stop copy trading my take profit accounts until I get an email. Take profit. Come on, man. And I guess I'll continue putting on trades on Apex below that 5% level. All right, yeah. I suppose I will. We'll see if I can keep trading Apex. Let's look for setups here. We are getting a little bit of a reversal attempt sequence here out of these candles. You see consecutive bear bars, kind of like a doji. A lot of people would call that a gravestone doji. Reversal attempt. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, you know what? I'm getting conflicting information about the take profit decision today. I have not gotten my email, but these two take profit pro accounts that I'm trading right now are the big boys, the biggest size they offer, and I don't really want to break some rule and have them killed off on one stupid trade. So I guess I will stick to Apex for now until we either get a sizable bounce where we're out of danger territory, or I get an email that tells me otherwise. Yeah, those emails really should have been sent this morning on a day like today. All right, well, the bull attempt at a reversal here. We did get a nice bull bar closing near its high on the 2-minute chart. Look up top. Now, the next couple of bars are very important because what we very well could end up seeing is this become a thing for a short period of time. It's very aggressive. These very aggressive trend lines don't tend to last for very long. You're just asking a lot of a market to make a hard trend one direction. But we could end up seeing that. So these next couple of 2-minute bars are going to tell us a lot. All right, here we go. Coming in for a new test of these lows. Yeah, that is the nice thing about Apex, is that the rules are, again, the page is kind of wordy, but once you understand Apex's rules, they're relatively straightforward. You can kind of avoid breaking any of them just by trading strategy, like automated stops, position sizing. All right, here's the test. Let's see what we get. Oh, you can see that? Look at that. Quick attempt at a break and immediately getting bought back up. That to me looked like an algo buy below 5%. You see that? We'll see if that can sustain. I'd be surprised if that did sustain. But we're seeing a bit of a flat channel developing, and these things tend to break out one way or the other hard, and it's usually about a 50-50 shot which direction it goes. Obviously here we have a hard downtrend that changes things a little bit as far as probabilities, but you get the idea. These flat bottoms like we're currently seeing, notoriously weak. I do expect we're going to see this flat bottom at least test a break. You see we're getting a little bit more of a mixed bag here after that move downside. So we get this move downside, right? And then you start mixing the bag. Buying pressure comes up or sellers step out. Probably a mix of both. All right, flat bottom test here. I bet we end up seeing a break here, at least at some point. Market really trying to hold that flat bottom here. Again, flat bottoms are notoriously weak, but flat tops are also notoriously weak. And if you look up here, this shows you a little bit better. We could end up seeing a tiny little wedge, flat, descending resistance area, right? This candle kind of relies on that candle, but we could end up seeing that. That'd be very tight. Usually those break out relatively hard one way or the other, and it's very difficult to predict which direction. But usually the probability lies a little more like 51, 52% in the direction of the trend slash flat, which in this case would be downside. There's the break attempt, but there are going to be buyers down there. There's the push. Now you guys know, you notice, right? There's not a ton of like snappy downside movement like you would expect from stop hunting, right? Now the reasoning is because when you get that test here, like you push a little bit deeper, you're already taking out all these stops, and there's not a lot of time for buyers to buy and then set a whole bunch of stops right below. So there's always only really a few in a situation where it's just grinding lower. So stop hunting in this, when you're getting new lows like every few minutes, is a little bit less relevant. Not to mention that the buyers, the new buyers who would be setting the stops that you'd be hunting are fewer and further between. So what I'm really thinking about right now is just wait for a good setup. And if it comes, put it on just in the Apex accounts. Again, the take profit accounts, we're down over 5% in the market, that is. Over 1,000 points. I don't want to risk breaking a rule in the take profit because I have not received my email yet. Okay, this bar closes 45 seconds. We will see what we get. A little bit of a wick upside. There's a push downside. And I'll sell that rollover just in the Apex accounts. We'll see if we can get a little bit of continuation. That's going to shoot right back upside. Stop at 18,760,150. We'll see if we can get a little more continuation downside. That was a setup for me, so I got to put that on. And then take profit here would be 18,680,150. We might get clipped. Again, sitting short on that rollover. Stop at 18,761.50. All right, pulling up for a test. A few points off my stop here. We'll see if I get clipped. Still in, not clipped out yet. But a stop out here is probable on this bounce. There we go. Stopped there in the Apex accounts only. So that brings us back to... Well, we're actually still green on the day here. We're now sitting just barely like red. I think you can see that. Break even, barely red in the Apex, and we're still up in the take profits. So, I don't know. We're up like a couple $100 on the day, maybe $300-400 on the day. Actually, a little bit more. We're up maybe $500 on the day, a little more than that. So, we'll see if we can get anything else here. Big old bull bar. Now, this is one of those outsized bull bars here. As far as news, again, not really a whole hell of a lot from here on out into the close. Just Fed speakers, really. Yeah, that rollover that we shorted, though, kind of ended up being the bottom right there. That's just kind of unlucky. That's okay. That was a good setup put on. I'd take it again. All right, now, let's look if we can... I really hesitate. I want to be well aware of any potential trend lines that we could be looking at, okay? So, like here on the 5, you could look at an aggressive trend line like this. But a clear of the 20 EMA on the 5-minute pretty much renders that one out of play. So I'm going to delete that, and we'll just see what we get as far as development here. Yeah, we caught just about the nastiest bounce of the day here so far. All right, 40 seconds out here from the close of this bar. A lot would need to change, though. Again, you look at the 5-minute chart. That 20 is lining up with that potential trend line that I want to be aware of. The 2-minute, you're attempting a break of that 20. Just considering all these things. Jeff. Super important question. What temp is your Ember set at? It's a good question. I haven't even looked at the app in like a year. I'll tell you what, I'll get back to you. It's just about perfect, though. All right, now you can see here we're getting shrinking bull bars. That 2 minute. Bears attempting a little reversal sequence here, but that doesn't mean they're going to succeed. All right, so where do we sit? Just some math here. Yeah, so we're up. That one trade brought us back down. We're up like 500 bucks on the day. So let's see what else we can grab. Well, Bull's kind of hanging on to the hope here of a continuation sequence. Let's see if they can pull it off. Again, this is kind of what I'm watching here. That 20 on the 5 minute. For me to enter continuation to the Bull side, I would need to see that clear. In my head, that's kind of like the last roadblock as far as hesitation out of buyers. You know, that reversal really was aggressive. That was kind of interesting, actually. I mean, we essentially bottom ticked the short to the short side. Again, I would take that again. That was a good trade. But this bounce is aggressive. So again, I'm looking really at this 5 minute. That 20 is the last thing kind of in my way before I can buy any kind of reversal here. All right, here we go. Tested the 20 on the 5 coming in. Just like you top ticked yesterday. Yeah, we had a winning trade yesterday that the take profit literally top ticked to the tick. So we're getting some interesting ones here the last couple of days. Tested the 20 on the 5. I really need to see this break. We got a minute and 10 seconds until the close of both this 2 minute bar and the 5 minute bar. So the next minute is going to determine whether or not I have a trade I can take. "30 seconds out here from the close." I don't know if we're going to get it. We have to see that 5-minute break. Obviously, I don't want to get continuation long right ahead of that last level. All right, there's the rollover. Grab some water, be back in 2. All right, baby, we are back. Still coming in to that 20 EMA on the 5, so good time to go get water. And we are not doing a whole hell of a lot. Really, I'm looking for a breakout in one direction or the other, or we can get a channel forming, but that would take a little bit more time. Gotta see what we can get here. I would love to see an upside push if we can get a push through these highs. And then ideally past any argument that you can make of an ascending resistance. That'll be a good place for me to sit. There we are, getting a bit of a push. Now this next bull bar is going to be, well, this next bar, shouldn't say bull, it might not be a bull bar. This is going to be the one, the definitive bar that tells me, do I get an entry or not here? And if not, then we roll over to the next bar or two. See what we can get. Here's how the 5 minutes looking. If you guys haven't already, again, please press the like button on the stream. Helps out tremendously. You have no idea, even a few people makes a noticeable difference. All right, what I'm really looking for here is a close, at least on this 2 minute bar, well above the 20 on the 5 minute. It would not also be the close of the 5 minute bar, at least not yet. But that's really what I'm looking at here. We're still respecting the 20 on the 5. Still no email, by the way, from Take Profit Trader. I don't know what they're doing over there. Not getting anything. Telling me what I can and can't do here. So I'll stick to just the Apex accounts for now. Play it safe on that front. Okay, there is the rollover on the 2 minute. Kind of an ugly bar. Shrinking bull bar, pulling back, wicking. So now we roll over to the next and see if we can get an entry. Now this bar would actually be the close of the 5 minute, which might make for an even better setup for us here. Appreciate you, Skeptic. Yep, just take what the market gives you. Nothing more, nothing less. If the market gives you 10 trades in an hour, take them. If the market gives you 1 trade in a day, take it. But we need to see this thing. Give me a setup. Here's what the 5 minute looks like. Pulling back. Wicking above. You guys see what we got here, right? A couple of wicks and then a hard rejection. I want to see a pretty clear break there, ideally. Now, worth mentioning, by the way, we could also be seeing the early stages of a little ascending channel. You guys see what I'm talking about right here? I'm actually, first of all, going to clean this up here. And then what we will do is draw the early stages of this. Not developed yet, but we could see that develop. Yeah, John, good base hit day. If you're done, get out of here. Nope, I'm flat right now. You can see no position on right now. 2 trades so far, 1 winner, 1 loser. We're up about total like 517 bucks on the day. So sitting small on the green so far here. Looking to take something else though. Again, I will take either continuation or channel scalps. Just need something to develop. All right, we have 2 touch points on this channel. Ideally, I like 3. There we go. There's a more definitive push. Getting a little worried with that mushy bounce on this potential channel that's forming here on the 2-minute. Again, I want my 3 touch points. If we can get 3 touch points, it's looking better, though I have to admit we are contracting a little bit, right? I mean, best case scenario, this channel right now, we're looking at 50 points wide. That's enough. But if that starts getting down to 25, 30 points wide, we're starting to get a little bit tight. You can get 1 big bull bar like we have breaking out. That's all it takes. It's not ideal, but we don't even have our 3 touch points yet, so gotta see what we get. Now, by the way, I know a lot of you guys are worried about prop rules on a day like today. If you're someone who uses Apex, you're fine. So it is 50% off right now. Use code BIG if you want to maybe try to pass some evals here today in the volatility. Same thing applies for Take Profit Trader. It's not 50% off, but Big does give you the best deal. However, I'm not getting an email from Take Profit Trader. Everyone else seems to have gotten an email. Not me. I'm sitting in the dark. I don't know what I can do, what I can't do here today. So my question is if it's down over 5% and then it comes back, does that rule go away or does it stick if we were down 5% at all? I don't know the answer to that. This isn't something we see very often, obviously. All right, here we are getting the test of the top end of that channel. That's going to be the 3rd test if we can get a push upside a little higher here. Here's the test. See what we get. A minute 30 out from the close of this bar. This could end up looking a couple different ways. This could also very well turn into a continuation setup for me. You aren't a degenerate gambler, so they trust you. LOL. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But it's not worth risking a couple 150K accounts just for one trade. Yeah, I imagine they have a pretty long email list and it just hits probably in a random order. It takes time to send out a lot of emails like that, so we'll see if I get one. But in the meantime, I'll just keep trading the Apex accounts. That's why it is nice to have some Apex accounts, because in a time like this where it's a little, you know, I don't have to worry about Apex. Yeah, nothing in the spam folder. So since you got that third touch point, wouldn't that be a good scalp opportunity? I prefer to see a third touch point with the test not on the exact following bar. Just because a lot of times you end up seeing the channel that's too tight when that happens. So like you look here, that makes it pretty clear. You know, I preferably a real third touch point would look something like this or something like this. When you get a wick up and down and next bar you get a hard test. Discretionary speaking, I'm not a huge fan. And there you go, you see you're getting that push through. It's very common with a setup like that. All right, now close above. Now, continuation is potentially on the table. So let's see how this bar closes. If we can get a move upside, a nice move upside with a sizable bull bar closing near the high, I will buy the rollover if we can see that. We very well may end up respecting this channel as well, so we'll see what we get on this bar. A minute 10 out from the close here of this 2-minute bar. The futures desk. I have not traded in those accounts for a couple of weeks. I'm not done with them. No. Their rules are just, they're a little tight. and I have to, it's like an opportunity cost kind of thing. I have to run multiple trade copiers. I have to use Replicanto and ETP. I had that problem with ETP because I was using those accounts. They did just make a change though. I got a message from them this morning that they do free upgrades to static accounts now for all, I believe all new accounts, which is an awesome thing. So I'm gonna get back to them about that and ask them what's going on with that. All right, so we have 2 seconds out from the close. There's the rollover. That's a very, very small bull bar. I think the futures desk is like kind of like a take profit trader. They're great if you're looking for daily, consistent payouts. It's worth mentioning they lock you out at 2 accounts. That's the max. Whereas take profit you can go up to 5. So it's just like a rule thing. I think they're great for if you're looking for consistent smaller payouts. Whereas like Apex, obviously you can only take a couple, maybe 2 to 3 payouts a month, once every 8 trading days. Max, but so you have to wait a little longer, but you can probably end up getting bigger chunks because that you can go up to 20 accounts. So it's just I think using all of them, a mix of them, is probably the right answer long term. Yeah, Bigfoot, very scalper friendly, 100%. The evals are just gonna take a long time. Okay, so we have 50 seconds here. Just because the rules, as far as how much you can make per day in the eval. If we can get a close near the high of this 2-minute bar, all of a sudden, I'm buying the rollover, but I don't like this wick. 30 seconds till the close. And again, this would just be in the Apex accounts just because I do not have word from Take Profit Trader whether or not I'm allowed to trade right now. So, because of that 5% drop in the market, that is one of their rules. We'll see. 5 seconds out. Give me a little bit of a pullback. I don't want to buy that pop. Give it 10 more seconds here for a little bit of a pullback. I have a limit order out, no fill. There we are, filled. And I'm sitting long. I bought that rollover. Sitting long in the Apex accounts only. So take profit up at 18,961.50. We'll see if that works out. And yes, I'm also looking at this. Here, let's look at the 5-minute. I'm looking at kind of this region here. That's kind of right where my take profit's sitting, so we'll see if we can get that working. Just outside of what could be argued as a channel, so I like that trade. I'd take that again regardless of outcome here. A few points. Well, pretty much break even, a few points in the money. So, as far as my bracket orders here, where are we sitting? Sitting long on that rollover. Stop down at 18,881.50. That's where I'd cut this baby. And take profit up toward 18,961.50, though I do want to see how we end up reacting in this region here if we were able to get a test. So we are sitting a little in the red on this trade so far. Again, this is just in those Apex accounts. No take profit here. Here's the retest of that trend line on the 2-minute. All right, pulling in here. Again, stop at 881.50. We'll see if we get clipped. And yeah, we're going to get stopped there in the Apex accounts. So that will, I believe... Let me do some math here. Yeah, that would put us in the red on the day so far. I think that's the first red day we've had on stream. At least so far. I'm not done yet for the day. Right, make sure. Uh-oh, camera's cooking again. Yeah, so we're down like 300 bucks. No big deal. All right, hold up, let me fix the camera. There we go, we're back. All right, so we're pulling back in. I mean, worth mentioning here, if we look at the 2 minute, we're pulling back into that 20. So we'll see if we end up respecting that. There's a push, huh? Well, we're now kind of inside of a little bit of a range here. We end up developing a new channel. I will look to see if I can take something else here, but I'm not in a big rush to take something. But if the market gives it to me, I will. Are you able to trade futures desk rhythmic accounts in Ninja? Yes, but you have to use their ETP trade copier, which they give you. It will not work in Replicanto. It's starting to turn into a little bit of back and forth here. I still want to see if this cleans up. All right, there's the downside push through the 20 on both the 5-minute and the 2, you can see here. Let's see if that gets held. We are sitting right on the day, just a couple $100, which is obviously no big deal compared to our recent base hit green days we've been having. I think this first red day in a couple of weeks. But again, I'm not done yet. We'll see if we can get something else here. I'm looking for continuation, but we're seeing a lot of back and forth. I just want to give the bulls no reason to believe that there's a channel forming anywhere. And then what I would happily do if we can get this bar, which we have a minute 45 left on, closing down in this region, I would short the rollover to see if we can get a push down through some stops here. Okay, so that's kind of what I had my eye on. All right, 55 seconds left until the close of this 2-minute bar. Here's how the 5 minutes looking. Not holding that 20 EMA on the 5 very, very well. It's not holding it, at least right now. We'll see how the 2-minute, kind of retesting the 20 here on the 2-minute. And here we are with the back and forth. So you know what we're getting now, right, is a widening channel. Which becomes very difficult to scalp inside of because you don't have any kind of confirmation where the edges are yet. And this is the kind of channel that for me gets very difficult to trade because when it's expanding, it starts to look a lot like continuation a lot of times. But if we can get something inside of the channel, like a continuation where you're not on the edges, you're kind of in the middle looking for continuation to the edges, that's something that I could potentially think about taking here. But for me, that's something that starts to get kind of difficult for the way that I trade, is when these channels start to go from tight to widening out, but the breakouts are failing. That's a tough position to be. I think it's important to recognize, you know, where the weaknesses might lie in your strategy. That for me, I think that's definitely one. We've gotten faked out now here twice today. "45 seconds out from the close of this 2-minute. Okay, if we look here. Yeah. Bit of continuation here, at least an attempt. coming into 18.9, 15 seconds out from the close of this 2-minute bar. If we can get a really clean close, I will buy the rollover, but we're wicking back here. Kind of a filthy close. I can't, no, that's not a trade for me. So how this next bar works out. All right, a minute 10 until the close here of this bar. Got a bit of a flat top forming, which is okay, though I'd prefer to see it close just slightly above there. These wicks, right? Now, as far as room to target, with this expanding channel, if we can stay in this region, there would be room for me here. About 35 seconds out here, a lot can change from the close of this 2-minute bar. Yeah, there's a wick downside. 12 seconds out from the close, if we can get a push back up toward the high and a close, I will buy the rollover here, but I don't want to buy the rollover, especially on a close inside of that wick or off that high. The previous wick, that is, yeah. See that, the body? See how that body closed right at the wick of the previous bar? That's a big deal. Which is, for my continuation strategy, that can be problematic, so I'm gonna hold off there, wait till the next bar. See what we get. Now, keep in mind, with each additional push, we get closer and closer to the outskirts, even of an expanding range, which is what I believe this to be. And that also becomes problematic. So I don't want massive bull bars here. I just want consecutive, clean closes. Now, I know a lot of you guys were talking about volume-weighted average price on that last trade I took. I'm a big volume-weighted average price user on stock, especially like small-cap momentum stocks. In futures, for me, I think it adds a little too much noise. That happened to work there for the shorts, but if shorting off a volume-weighted average price is not a trade I would take on its own, which it isn't in futures especially, then it's not really a reason for me to hold off of a good setup of mine. Though I understand that on that trade, I did get stopped. You add too many things into your brain, you just get paralysis. All right, guys, well, listen, as far as volatility, today might be a good day to trade some evals. If you need some accounts, obviously use code BIG at Apex, 50% off single day pass. If you're looking for take profit trader, that if you use code BIG as well, will give you the best deal, which is 30% off, no activation fee. All right, guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. 8:15 a.m. Central Time every single morning. I am live. All right, hope we get some decent setups here to close out the day. Hope you guys clean up the day if you're red. Hope you guys walk away if you're green. And I'll tell you what, I'll see you in the morning, all right? All right, guys, have a good day. See you tomorrow.